Good morning, everyone. We're meeting again after a year to celebrate the World Industrial Design Day. And this this year we have a very interesting topic. And I think, unlike last year, where we sort of had to look for ways of making it broad, this year it is a very broad topic, and we can go in different directions. And I'm looking forward to actually having that kind of discussion, which goes in many different directions of the topic. And the main topic is let's get ethical. What does this mean? This can talk about how do we as designers look at ethics in our process? How do we embed integrity in our everyday design decisions? How can we be more transparent? How can the system that we design within be more transparent? How do we ensure that we are looked after as designers in terms of IP? Are we protected enough? Are we designing in a world that is actually encouraging the climate of transparency? Are we able to look at dignity, empathy, integrity, humility? These are very, very hard words. These are values. And are we able to really function and produce work which takes all of these things into account? I'm very excited today to present our speakers, and I'm hoping to have a lively discussion afterwards. So, again, these are all of our supporters of CMRU School of Design. We have been working together. We know what each other's work looks like. And so we're here to share today and see where do we intersect and where are we going to disagree. I'm very excited to see where do we disagree, if there is such a point at all. So we have with us Mr. Nikhil Chafle, who's the principal designer at Ripple Lighting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really a pleasure to introduce our students to your work and to your company and your products. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being here today. Ms. Deepti PS, who's the co-founder and designer of Vichitram Design Studio, a long-term supporter of our school and our students. Thank you for being a great mentor, Deepti, and thank you for being here with us today. Do we have Dr. Vijay Praneshwaran with us as well? Has he joined? Okay, I think we need to give him a call. Just a small reminder. He's the director of CMRU School of Legal Studies. And so he would be talking to us about the legal aspects of design and IPR. With a very specific topic on law and ethics of consent. Last but not least, this year we have decided to involve our students as well. And so I'm very happy to have Dhriti Lakaraju, who's a final year student of product design here at our school, who will be talking about learning to design with empathy, ethics, and ecology. This is going to be exciting, and I'm hoping that we have more of our students joining in and that they will ask questions. Let's begin. Let's begin and let's get ethical today. So, Nikhil, over to you. We're looking forward to hearing from you on designing with integrity in manufacturing. I think it's a very, very important part of our lives because it encompasses that physical existence of our lives, and manufacturing, whether it's lighting or furniture or any kind of physical product. It really is time that we look at, um, where do we source materials? What is the impact? What kind of pollution are we creating? Even with lighting, are we talking about pollution that can be reduced? And where are we going today with manufacturing, especially in terms of lighting? But feel free to expand the topic further. Over to you.
Yeah. So, hello all. I'm Nikhil. I'm a lead product designer at Ripple Lighting. Today, okay, one second. I'll share my screen. Sure. Okay. Today's topic is design with integrity in manufacturing. So, am I audible?
Yes, yes, we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
hear you, and we can see your screen.
Yeah. I'll give a small introduction about Ripple Lighting and what we do. Ripple Lighting is a lighting design company, and we do both functional lighting and decorative lighting. So, I handle the decorative lighting part, and we do a lot of domestic projects and export also. So, uh, for the export orders, we do a lot of exhibitions in Delhi. Few exhibitions are like Indian goods and handicraft, which happens in Delhi, where a lot of uh, client from international client comes there. They are like the wholesaler for the lighting, and they see the product and then they give the order. So when the order comes, the quantity is more. It's like a mass manufacturing, and we do a lot of products which are handmade. So that's the basic introduction. I'll start from the. I'll just share the PPT with you. So manufacturing isn't just about output and values. In manufacturing, we should respect the material, we should respect the people, and we should respect the process. So when we say respect the material, okay, one second. Well, so when
We
we say about
can
respect
see
the
your
material,
presentation.
it's like so in our studio, every material we use is selected uh, not just for how it looks, but for what it represents, where it comes from, and how it interacts with the light. Because we are making uh, we are dealing with lights mainly, so we choose the material depending on that. We believe every material has a story, and we must honor those stories. When I talk about respect for people, uh, it's behind every product we make. There are human hands, artisans, craftsmen, and fabricators. Designing with integrity means we don't treat them as a labors, but we collaborate with them. We train them. We look for their safety. Whenever new artisan uh, comes in our studio, we treat them all the basic techniques which is required to make a light. And the third point is respect for process. So handmade product takes time. uh, it requires patience, repetitions, and deep understanding of mass manufacturing. Uh, but uh, we work we work at a pace that allow the process to breathe. Even when exporting, we don't compromise on the craftsmanship. We adopt the scale without diluting the soul of the product. So when it comes to the mass manufacturing, we keep all these uh, things in mind. So so when it comes to the material, so how we select the material. So we have to be very conscious while selecting a material. Most of our products are handmade, so even the material we are selecting, so the few materials which I have listed here are lokta paper, khadi, cotton, silk fabric. All the fabrics will have block printing or the other tie and dye techniques on it. Then we work with natural ropes like cotton rope, Danish cord, the ropes made up of waste textile uh, uh, and paper mache we use. So I'll give you the brief about the Lokta paper. So Lokta paper is basically a handmade paper which we source from Nepal. It's made in the tribal region of Nepal, like the Himalayan part, uh, and it's a very the tribals over there make this paper, and they are making it from centuries. The main reason behind selecting this paper is the light output which comes from the paper is very unique than the other handmade paper which we get. Uh, and we are financially supporting the artisans over there and growing their craft uh, is also a story which we want to tell people. So that is the reason we go with lokta paper. The other material is khadi, uh, silk fabric, cotton fabric. uh, so we do a lot of exports, as I told you before. So we have a lot of carton boxes in our office which goes in waste. So we had a discussion few years back that what can we do with this material, and then we come up with the idea of can we use that boxes as a uh, uh, like can we make a paper mache out of that box, and we did some process. We mixed that paper mache with cement, and we came up with some really beautiful products. So that is another uh, thing, like how can we use waste from our company and make lightings out of it. That is also one thing we do when I say how can consciously, how can we consciously select a material. uh, So the next slide is handmade mass production challenges. So as I told you, whenever the export order comes, they it comes in a quantity like 300, numbers of one product, and we have to make like 2,000, 3,000 products for one client, and the duration is very less. But how do we make that without compromising on the quality of the product? And uh, so when the so they are very particular about the quality check and dimensions of the product. So the handmade product is basically divided into two parts. One is the uh, metal frame, and the other, so the fabrication part and the making part. So we have a lot of automated machines which we use to make the, so we use lot of automated machines which gives the perfect size for the product, like a rod bending machine, CNC, or laser cutting machines. So the size of the product is perfect, and then it goes to the making, where all the artisans who does the paperwork on it, which is a time taking process. uh, so whenever the client comes to the exhibition to buy a product from us, they need a story. They don't simply buy a product. They will ask ki, why did you make this product, what is the story behind it. uh, so all these questions will be asked because they also wants to share the same story with the customer they will be selling the products. So uh, we get lot of artisans, from lot of artisans we have from northeast, some regional artisans also we have. We get them, we train them with each material we work with. uh, uh, okay, next slide. So why integrity matters? Craft-led design is slower but more sustainable. So there are a lot of materials which can be mass manufactured easily, and you can make like 100 or 1,000 pieces in a day. But we don't want to do that. We want to be more sustainable, more eco-friendly, and more aware about the material which we use, and do uh, still wants to do the mass manufacturing, but without compromising on the quality or the method we use. So ethical sourcing leads to a real social impact. So the sourcing of the material, where we source it from, who is making the material, all those are really impactful when you decide what material you're going to choose for your product. Clients are looking for more, for meaning and not just the object. As I told you before, the export uh, orders which we do, the clients are more interested in the story about the products. What is the story? What material you use? Where you get the material from? Who is making the material? All those story they really want to tell their clients, and not like something which is made in a plastic where the product is fine but there is no story, or it's not very sustainable. They don't want to go with that. Long lasting relationship with material makers and market. So it's been couple of years since we found the Lokta paper and we source it from Nepal. And we have got the connection with the artisans over there. We go there, we visit them, we show them the products we make by using their material. They become very happy. uh, even when the client knows that we deal with a specific material which no other company does, and we do it uh, in a really good way. The trust for us in a client's mind increases, and we do get lot of repeat orders from the client. So sometimes it takes more time to make products, and it might cross the deadline, but client is also little bit aware that handmade products do take some time. uh, yeah, so I'll just show you few products, the names which I take of the material. So yeah, so the center one which you see, Lokta paper, is a plain Lokta paper which we get, which comes in a 600 by 700 size, and we buy like some 8,000, 10,000 sheets in a bulk. Okay, and so I also want to share with the students that you can, when you get something as a material, you should really explore the material. What else can you do with the same material? So the first image which you see is a crushed Lokta paper. it is also, it's the same Lokta paper which you see in the second slide, but we have crushed the paper to get this texture on the paper. And in the third image is also Lokta paper, but we have pleated the Lokta paper to get that texture. So when you compare these three, they look totally different from each other, and even the products which comes out from this are totally different. The fourth image you see is one of our artisans is pleating the Lokta paper. It's a very time-taking process, and every paper is pleated by hand. Uh, so the first product you see is made out of plain Lokta paper. There is no work has happened on it. The second one is a pleated Lokta paper, and the third one is a crushed Lokta paper. So you can see, using the same material, you can come up with a different variety of product which looks totally different from each other. Uh, like the other material I told you, like Danish cord or cotton rope. So the first slide is made out of cotton rope. I told you that we use a lot of waste carton boxes in a company and make uh, products out of it. So the cement shade which you see on top, it's a make. Yeah, so we mix paper mache and cement, uh, and to come up with this kind of product. These products were in we sold a lot of products uh, internationally because they were really, got excited with the story behind this, and the products were also looking good. Even the third slide, the third image is also cement using the waste paper mache. The block printing, I have told you, that's the fourth image. So we becomes very conscious while selecting the material, um, and uh, so the we that's what I wanted to share with you guys, that how we deal with mass manufacturing of the product and still make the handmade products. Uh, yeah, that. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. And Pratik, I'm pretty sure that you have a lot of questions with regard to sourcing and what happens with the material, with the product after its life cycle. How far is the life cycle actually taken into account when a designer designs something? I'm sure that there will be an interesting conversation between the two of you during our panel discussion. Who is our next speaker? Do we go in the in? Okay, I will. Shall we proceed with Dipti? Dipti is coming to us from Vichitan Design Studio. Um, it's a wonderful design studio that pays a lot of attention to storytelling and communication, which is meaningful and effective. And more than anything else, Dipti has been a great mentor to all of our students and to us also in a way at the School of Design. Good morning, Dipti. You will need to unmute yourself. Can we help her unmute her? Sunil, can we help her unmute her?
Ma'am, she's not muted.
Okay. Then I guess it's up to Dipti to.
Dipti, can you, where the audio button is there, next to that there's an arrow, and from that, if you could select the microphone. Still not audible.
How do we help her? This is the problem with webinars. All right. In the meantime, just to remind you all why we are here. So today it really is about being just in design, being taking care of people, taking care of the planet, the environment that we are in, and taking that into account with the process of design. So in our work, I think it's really time that we start taking that into account right from the moment of planning. So whenever we get a project brief, and we start the ideation, we look at the research, we try to look at the ecosystem that we are designing a particular piece or a particular communication within. I think it's really time that we add one more moment of well, not just discovery, but also something which revolves around our conscience and therefore ethics. And that is essentially, where do we source, who is involved, and what happens with the design once it has finished its function, right? Whether it's virtual or it's physical, and specifically more when it's physical. I think it's important that we expand the anticipation of the life cycle of our design. And in that light, there was a wonderful elaboration on what education can do in this regard, and that specifically design education. And there's a whole new element as well when we are talking about the discovery phase, the ideation phase, the design phase, or the making phase, and finally the testing phase. So AI also plays a role in this. Today, we no longer are designing without it. And I would really love to hear from all of the present in the audience, to what extent do they feel that AI is an ethical entity to be used in design, and how do we make its usage ethical? Where do we say this is okay and this is not okay? So are there such boundaries, and is there something that we should be worried about as designers? Is AI an entity that can possibly sort of knock us out in the ideation process as well? And which is absolutely the crucial part for the design process. And how do we protect ourselves in this environment where we are actually using AI right now, but tomorrow AI can claim that, okay, it's mine, right? Because it was a collaboration between the two. Dipti, how are we doing with sound? Are we
Can you
back?
hear me now, Pratik?
Yes, you are. Yes.
I had to join from my phone. Sorry about
Yes,
it.
yes.
Thank you, Alexandra. I will thank you, Alexandra, and the CMR School of Design for the opportunity. And thank you, Pratik, for coordinating and making things like really hassle-free, even though from my end, I had this problem. So today, I think I will show a little bit light about the projects we have worked and our thoughts about empathy and storytelling for design. Can you go to the next slide? At Vichitram, what we do is craft brand experiences. So starting from the visual identity, we go into talking about and creating like brand experiences through whether it's like digital or physical. So in digital, we do websites, UX, UI, and then we also do social media. And then in physical, we help our clients with their printed catalogs and then packaging design. We work with for their trade shows, exhibition design, all of that. We have a team who do strategy, copywriting, design, illustration, UX, UI design. So I think in empathy plays a very important role in both aspects, from right from strategy, copy, and design. Everybody has to get. So when we do strategy, that is when it kind of percolates into the design process at every stage. That's my team, and can you go to the next slide now? I want to start this session with a story, which is is something which made me stop in my tracks like a couple of years ago. This was in 2020, right before the pandemic. I was in Chennai for one of our biggest clients store opening in Chennai. The brand is called Velva. And after the rebranding, we did the packaging and then we worked on the websites, photo shoots, and then we really wanted to build us a brand into skin and hair care, right? So we wanted to talk about how the Vilva woman, because it's a like she's very emancipated, she's working, she's got a lot of big dreams, and she's using Vilva as one of her ways to feel more confident. And she's taking care of herself and a lot of self-love in that kind of a in that whole thing, right? So we had all the graphics ready. We have, like people doing things they love, listening to music, they're having a pet, and then they're having fun. All these things were done, right? And then I go to store opening, and then all these things are very bought from Western influences because staying in a metro city like Bangalore, we see a lot of women from tier two cities, right? They're coming to the cities like metro cities like Bangalore, and we're seeing how their the thoughts are changed, their clothes are changed, they wear makeup, and they try to reflect all of these things into the Vilva women, right? And then I'm sitting in the store opening. The store opening is done. So we started 2 hours ago. The puja is done, and then inauguration is done. So I'm waiting for the first customer of Chennai to walk in. So I'm sitting at the chair outside with Kritika, who's the founder of Velva. And then a lady walks in. She's wearing a sari, and she's very bright colors, like how you'll typically find in a village where it's very bright yellow, very bright green. And she also has a child on her hip, very young child, like 1 year, 1.5 years child. So I look at her, and then turn to Kritika and ask, Kritika, do you think she's a Vilva customer? So Kritika, she says, let's see. Okay. So in a few seconds, this woman walks up to us, and then she asks us, "That's a Vilva store." Okay, so that was the first Vilva store customer in a new first store outside Chennai. And then I think it shattered all I thought about Vilva women. And then I will show you towards the end of the presentation how we incorporated all of that. Now I'll go to the second slide. Next slide, sorry. So empathy is, I want to reiterate this because it's really important. The action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. So when we're designing for a brand's clients, we're designing for them in their homes, for them in their offices, for them in their holidays, and how they can use our brand, right? So we have to experience their life from their point of view. So when I used to work with Vilva, I have spent multiple trips going to the store to understand how people shop, because that time from a store experience we created a website experience. So how do people shop? Suppose there's somebody who walks in who does nothing about Vilva. How do you help them navigate and make into a purchase, right? And then for a school in Chennai, I'm sitting in Bangalore. I know North Chennai is an area where there are a lot of industries, and then the audience is very different there. So we went and spoke to the teachers, we went and spoke to the parents who came to pick up children, understood, okay, why did they choose the school? Are they happy with the school? This is something which we do for every single client we work with. Other than talking to the founders, we understand the founders, and then the stakeholders. They talk about the brand in a very positive light. They talk about the challenge, they have the pain points also. That's only one part of the story. We also have to talk to the people who are going to work in the organization, and there is the marketing and sales team who are directly talking to the customers, right? Understanding how the customers talking about the brand, what are the questions they are having, what are the pain points they are having. So all these things piece together, very interesting, part of the puzzle, understanding what is the client expectation from the brand. And with that understanding, we have to make sure the customers are felt heard, understood, and then the brand is responding to them. Yeah, next slide, please. This is something I think we must have all done in college, right? To understand empathy mapping, understand how do the clients, user personas think and feel. That's partly because of what are they seeing, what are they hearing and they're doing, and what are they saying about the brand. And then you understand what is the think and feeling, and then you can derive the pain and the gain of the users using the brand. Yeah. this is a framework which is very effective to understand user personas and to the empathy mapping. Can go to the next slide. So I was looking at where empathy is not done in design because it's a very, very small factor. It's very powerful, but it's also very overlooked as well, right? Because this is part of the design process. But then when we don't do something like this, the damage it can cause, right? So this is, we all have learned about the very recent, the Fair and Lovely became Glow and Lovely. But growing up, when you see ads where every single ad is talking about how when you become fair, it's related to success in, like in getting like a job interview or to work with somebody or when to find a partner. So every single thing was talking about that, right? So it took, I think, decades for people to wake up because that was the norm that time. So you always showed women in movies, especially. I noticed that the movies, the from a village, the girl goes to study in a city and she comes back, and then the village gunda falls in love with the uh, woman, and then he kind of subdues her and tames her, and then they fall in love, and then like the movie ends like that. So I think the storytelling, the mass communication in the cinemas and other movies, and it also related to also ads. But now with more people being aware of what they are worth, and there's a lot of change, shift in narratives from the brands as well. It's reflecting changing times. That's something we have to be aware of. So I have this question about like when do you feel the empathy is not enough, right? Empathy is not there. That's something we'll discuss in the next couple of slides. Because this is something which made me think about like how did people how did like whole population of India were okay with this. And it took us a long time to wake up and say, this kind of demeaning me, this is not giving me, dignity in using the product because it's making me reach out to something which I'm not, like means then with dark skin, right? So yeah, next slide, please. So I just want to reiterate this. So how do you develop empathy as a designer, as a copywriter, as working for somebody doing design brand communication is to observe. And the most important thing is observe without bias, because I might find a certain way comfortable and the truth, right? This is what I find right. But if it's for somebody else, they might find that version of the reality as true. So it's the most important thing, observe without bias. And second thing is like interview real users, because you can do a lot of secondary research and reading online, definitely Quora and Reddit. But I think like talking to people and asking real questions in a very nice way where they are willing to share answers and qualitative answers really help you understand the brand and its user. I think empathy mapping, what I talked about, the framework is going to be really helpful to understand and map out, why, how the brand should talk to them. And then, of course, develop user personas and then test with real users. I think by the time we come to the end of the project, we are very attached and we don't want to change many things about the brand, right? About the in product. But there are also many cases where without testing, if you go into the market, it can be a huge backfire. You can look at many, rebranding exams which have failed because it didn't capture the essence and then the feeling of the loyal customers till now. That's something it's exercise for you to go and look at, to understand how if you don't do like testing with at least a small pilot group, it's going to be dangerous for at least large brands, and because they will not feel like they are represented in that kind of in brand. Yeah. Will you go to the next slide? I want to talk to you about like a couple of projects which kind of communicate this. The first is we did a nice, interesting map which talks about all the interesting parts up near our studio. So why we did this was we realized we have a lot of people coming in to work with us for like internships, which was like 3 to 6 months, and we didn't have time to showcase the best of our studio as a host. So we love hosting people to share experience with them. So we did a map with all the important things, places to go hang out, to go eat and grab a bite and things to do. And this got us, it was so popular that, it got us, it was a favorite of all people who loved old Bangalore, South Bangalore. And it got us to working with Incredible India also. The second project is a recent brand launch. We realized that one of our clients was launching their brand at the alumni meet. So the event was an alumni meet. They had a lot of cultural activities. They had a DJ party in the end. So I said, let's make that event. So they're having a logo launch, logo reveal at the event. But then I was like, logo's fine, but how do you make them understand one more thing about the brand? Because it's a great opportunity for people to be there. They've seen the brand across the stage, but how do you take it one step further? I realized that all the people who are going to come for the event are not going to have their bags because they're just going to come for an evening of like socializing. So we made something which is like a palm size thing which can go into like a men's pocket and small enough to go into women's handbag as well. Because I think that because that is something and they will take it back and go. You give them an A5 brochure, they probably will just look at it and kind of keep it somewhere or fold it in. This is something even though it looks small, it packed the 8-page brochure. So storytelling was like every time you open something, we understood how the people is going to be seeing it and then kind of story, like very small thing, then enough in details to talk about and what do you do, and then for them to come back to the website. So third thing, third image, you see illustration there. So this was in one of our clients. They were having, they're into genomics. So they have a cutting edge lab in Bangalore. And when I went to I've been working with them for almost 2+ years right now. And when I went to the lab and to meet the people, I realized that a lot of 50% of their workforce, more than that, is actually women, right? So it only made sense to have women represented the figures doing different things. These illustrations were meant to be stuck outside the lab. So people, the lab rooms. So when you go into the lab aisle, you can talk about what happens inside the lab without having to go inside. That was the intent. And so we made sure more than 60% of this entire communication through illustrations, through human figures were women. Yeah, next slide, please. So the first, you can see a booklet which said Renaissance. So Renaissance was an annual event connected by Zisk. It's a company who's into web development. They engaged us 2 years ago to tell us AI is really getting powerful. We want our engineers to work with AI and to adopt them, right? This was a brief given to us. And the founder wanted to address his 100+ employees on a forum like this and talk about how AI is the future and then how engineers and developers could benefit from integrating AI into their work process. So what we did for them was we created like an illustration of a techie. It's an androgynous techie. We can't make what's male or female, and he's helped by AI. So he's working alongside AI, but the human is doing something. And you see a lot of gadgets and screens, and they're holding the hands of the man, of the figure, right? So this became very popular in the sense that we used it extensively in main communication points for the event. We have given out T-shirts for this. We also have given, like the booklets about the event about this. So, and then the founder also spoke about this to understand and tell the importance of this. And then I think over that last 2 years, the transmission has been really tremendous. The second picture, you see a senior citizen who's reading a newspaper, right? So we had a client who are offering homes for senior citizens, completely safe in sense, like, fully furnished homes they could move to with like facilities like, like a cafe, they can come and have food. So they don't have to cook at home because it's one pain point for senior citizens. They have to cook, they have to clean. So it's like a hotel, but then it's in your own home instead of, like a single room, you just have a double bedroom and then you also have a community. When you come down to the dining hall, you meet all the people, right? So here we're looking at marketing collateral. So they would have people to come and visit the store, visit the premises, and then we want them to take something back because you can't tell everything about the brand. And then I think when something is back with you, when you go back, you kind of have more interact with the brand. So we came up with this thing where we designed a small newspaper for them. So news, then in the marketing book, it talked about, okay, how much it is in terms of the pricing and then the features, all of that. But in the newspaper, we talked about how it is to be a part of the Muslim community. So what are the activities there? What's the birthdays? Like the one amazing recipe and celebrations last month. So it was like a newsletter which captured how it is to live in a Muslim community. So that's something which we designed. And why? Because let's say people of 60, I've seen my grandfather read the paper through and through. I grew up with that. So I know that when you have a little more time on your hands, you will read the paper. And that's something because then the user directly is going to know and know enough about, because even if I put in social media, they're not going to look at my videos and my vlogs and all of that. So we give something which is a part of their life already. And the last image is what you see of with game of vulva women. We changed the entire perception of how we wanted to showcase vulva women. It became actually, we also noticed, we also had a lot of men also who are in the influence of their women in their life, that's like their wife or their mother or their girlfriend or sister. They also used to use Vilva products. So the entire thing from Vilva women became to Vilva tribe. And that has been extensively communicated through their packaging design, through social media. And also, we also designed this part of the huge mural which we designed for their main flagship store in Coimbatore. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so it becomes when you make empathy a part of the design process, right from the copywriters and designers. I think the entire storytelling becomes more human, more inclusive for all the people who might be using it, and also very powerful because they feel it is a part. You're telling story to them. They feel like they feel seen, they feel heard. Yeah. Next slide, please. So this is a question I said I will come back to you. So how do you test for empathy? That's a question I would like to leave you with, and we'll discuss in the Q&A sessions. I would like to hear your thoughts about it. And yeah, can you go for the next slide, please? So when design is designed with when products are designed with intent of empathy, you feel that that brand or product is designed for you. It doesn't demean you. It doesn't. You feel dignified using it, and it's made for you. You feel safe and you feel heard. This is what is the way we feel empathy can be. Empathy can impact design experiences, brand experiences. Yeah. The next slide, please. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. I look forward to your thoughts and discussions after this, at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Oopsie, I do this from time to time. I hope I'm audible now. Thank you so much, Deepti. This is a wonderful reminder that empathy is at the center of our beginning and the end of our design process. If we do not understand the person or the circumstances that we're designing for, there's really no successful design. So thank you for that reminder. And yes, I would like all of the audience to sort of answer in the chat box, perhaps, how to test for empathy. How do we test for empathy in our work? What is your experience so far? Because we have a lot of designers today joining us in. How do you test for empathy? And how do you make sure that it actually is sort of aligned with your target audience? Next, we have Dr. Praneshwaran joining us today. And I am particularly keen on hearing where does design, law, and ethics intersect. Because this is always a little blurry. So I would really appreciate if are we here today? Has Dr. Praneshwaran joined us?
Yes, I'm in.
Yay, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. We are all keen on knowing a little bit about how does the law protect designers, and how does the law protect also those that we design for, when it needs to. I'm looking forward to hearing from you on this. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'll be talking on design, law, and ethics of consent. So the topic appears quite simple. There are three main huge topics involved: design, law, and ethics. Each probably are a fort by itself, and they are closely connected. Especially law and ethics are connected with everything and anything. Whether you're at home, you're on the roads, you're in contact with the government, you're at college, wherever you are, law and ethics are there everywhere. We may not notice it, we may be unmindful of it, but nevertheless, nothing specific to design. Law and ethics are something which is very common and closely connected with every aspect of our life, right from our birth till death. Even when you are born, law is involved, unless you have a birth certificate. And similarly, when you die, unless you have a death certificate, you're not officially dead. So law intersects every aspect of life. The thing is, we don't realize it. So design shouldn't be any exception. Nevertheless, law and ethics are closely involved with the design. More so ethics, because when you do something, ethics from your perspective, ethics from the user's perspective, and ethics from the society's perspective. And of course, whether you like it or not, law will be involved. For a moment, I will shut down my video, and please look at my DP. It says Duralex sed lex. It means the law is hard, but it is a law. Now, whether you like it or not, you have to follow the law. So you may be as well wary of what you're creating, what you're doing, how it is used, who is using it, what things are used, so that you're not caught on the wrong foot. So as a designer, whatever you use, whatever details, data, idea, photos, plans, then thereafter you manufacture, you create, you outsource, you bring in materials, everything, who does it, all these things, law and ethics are to be taken care of. The first question that needs to be answered, or you should ask yourself, is it mine? Secondly, is it legal? And third, is it ethical? Talking about law and ethics. Ethics is a very broader concept. Every profession has ethics. Everything, like I said, has ethics. Now, what differentiates ethics and law is very important. Ethics is somewhere closely related with what is moral, what is right from an individual's inner perspective or from a society's perspective, what ought to be done. Now, morals are very closely connected with integrity, honesty, and transparency. Ethics are something like a set of principles which are connected with societal values, most important. In fact, most of the time, many people confuse ethics and law though they are closely connected. There's a very distinct line that differentiates law and ethics, though both of them may be based on similar principles. On the contrary, law is a set of rules and regulations which are created, which emanate from an authority, which binds us together as a society. Man is a social animal. We live in society. When we live in society, we require certain norms to live. Yes, we can live with ethics, but then ethics differ from person to person, society to society. That's where we require something uniform. That is where law pitches in and binds us together, keeps us in order, keeps us in peace. So very closely connected with ethics, but slightly different. The law arises from authority, whereas ethics comes from cultural values, your morality, your morals, your beliefs, personal beliefs. One man's moral may not be another man's morals. Ethics, whereas law, whoever you are, depends on where you are. And within that place, whatever is the law, you have to follow. Both are based on what society requires, what is right, the concept of right and what is reasonable. See, many times what happens is, in designs, when you use your ideas, are you using somebody else's idea or a part of somebody else's idea? The materials that you use, whether you're allowed to use. A simple example is we unmindfully download a lot of pictures from the World Wide Web. We use Google and we use it, we put it, especially when we do our PPTs and we do our presentations. The question is it ethical? Second, is it legal? How do we answer these two, or what is the difference? Now, when we use those photographs and we don't acknowledge that we have taken it from somewhere, that's being unethical. We are unintentionally passing it off as our own. Similarly, in design, when you're creating something, or when you're passing off as an idea, or you're using something, see, it could be for the betterment of the society. It could be for the use of the needy, or it eases out a lot of problems, anything, irrespective of the end result. If you don't acknowledge, this is one small example, it is unethical, it is wrong. Maybe you'll have to acknowledge. You may even have to take consent sometimes to use those pictures. And thirdly, when you don't use the consent, or when you don't acknowledge that the law pitches in, then the person who holds right to that, who holds the what is known as, I'm introducing this concept now, the intellectual property right, that person has every right to prevent you, to take you to the court, to ask for compensation. That I'll deal with what are the consequences. Similarly, this is the consequential part. This is when you create something, how very it should be. Now let's presume that it's an original idea you have created. Now, if you don't protect your ideas, if it is in the open domain, if it is an open source, unless you're okay with it, if you want to protect it, you may have to resort to some of these registration processes to protect your ideas, unless you want it to be in the public domain and you're okay with everybody using it. Here, I would like to bring in one, see, under the Indian philosophy, we never had this concept of IPR. It is never, whatever was created, whatever new innovation, which was for the benefit of the society, was always for the society. Intellectual property rights is a Western concept brought in to protect commercialization. And of course, now with too much of commercialization and also to protect your idea, you may require to protect your designs, your ideas, either in the form of copyright or a patent, or even your trademark. Whenever you're using as an NGO, you have a distinct presence, your logo, your name, all these needs to be protected, because you may be doing it with good intent, but then the entire world is not so kind enough, and there are a lot of unscrupulous elements waiting to cash in on your good and bona fide uh, appearances, your good faith and your goodwill in the society. So it is always better. And law, law also sometimes when somebody uses your name, your design and passes it off as something and as theirs, and they misuse the society, and you keep quiet about it. Again, ethically speaking, you are also answerable. You can't, because when somebody else is using your name and your product and your design, your idea uh, as theirs, that's not right. So what have you done to prevent and protect it? So these are some of the issues with regard to law and ethics. How usually we do as a designer, you need to work out is when you use products, when you use designs, when you use ideas, materials, whatever. One is, yes, acknowledging if it is in the open source, find out if it is IPR protected. If it is protected, then whether you can use it and what are the conditions for using it, and how you protect your own ideas once it is created, get it registered. These things have to be done. So all these comes under the concept of intellectual property rights. Why this intellectual property rights was brought in is to protect an idea. Otherwise, what happens is somebody puts in all the effort, brings out something new, a new concept, a new idea, a new work, a new literary work, a musical work, and either somebody else takes credit for it or somebody else makes a commercial use of it. There is where you need to resort to this IPR and protect your ideas. It may be in the form of a patent, a copyright, or a trademark, an industrial design. There are geographical indications also, trade secrets, integrated circuits, layout designs, these things. If you don't keep in mind these aspects, either invariably somewhere you may end up being bridging the or breaking the barriers of ethics, or you may be even uh, uh, flouting law. And see, it doesn't matter. You cannot say that you did not know, or you were not wary of it and nobody told you, because law doesn't take it lightly. When you say that you did not know the law, you're expected to know the law. That's where a legal professional like me pitches in to advise you. Maybe you all can think of having, before getting into it, one kind of a consultation with someone, at least in the preliminary stages, to know how far it is all right, how far it is not breaking any law or anybody else's intellectual property rights. And of course, ethics, you all know better, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing, to whom you're doing. That part, ethics part, is taken care. The one fundamental line that differentiates ethics and law is the enforcement. If you're unethical, it only hurts your morality. I mean, law will not get into it as long as it is not against the law. But if it is against the law, even if you're ethical, but if it is against the law, then you have sanctions for it. So ethics is more concerned with your morality and your principles of honesty, integrity, your goodness, your fairness, your reasonableness. which our societies, how society feels, where law has nothing to do with it. Whereas law specifically tells that if you have done something which the law says is not to be done, whoever you are, however you are, for whatever reasons you have done, you're still wrong, and consequences will follow. Why these protections? Why you should be wary of the intellectual property rights in terms of your designs, both from your perspective and from the other's perspective, is one, it protects your creations. Like it protects your creations, it also protects others' creations. So if this protection is not there, then this concept of ownership, this concept of this idea belongs, falls flat. Then recognition of the innovation. And it also gives you the incentive. See, many a times it is not just the commercial reasons why somebody would want to protect their intellectual property. It is also the concept of paternity. There are a lot of people who invent, innovate for the benefit of society, but then they would want their name at least to be acknowledged. IPR also helps in economic growth and conversely, when you violate IPR, then it ensures that you are made answerable to it. It also helps you in brand building, especially your trademark, however small or big, and it also gives you visibility. It doesn't depend. Everybody starts small. So right from beginning, this identity to do with colors and to do with the design, to do with your trademark, your logo, your name. The moment somebody sees that, they should be able to relate it to you. That's what IPR does. And so these are some of the aspects of the concept of design, law, and ethics. A brief overview. Finally, I would like to add on telling that what happens if you are not mindful of ethics and law when in your field of design. Ethics, yes, it doesn't matter much, but then nevertheless, yes, in your circle, in your society's point of view, you may be branded, but then okay, it does affect you, but law will affect you even more. Whoever finds that either you have used their design, their ideas, they may either bring in an order, a restraining order, preventing you from using it any further. They may even ask for damages. They may even ask for accounting of profits. Now, they're here irrespective of whether you have used it for benefit of society, for charity, irrespective of that. They will still go and ask for their damages. So be wary of these things. Nothing wrong in putting it through a test of, at least in the initial stages, on the face, just to see that whatever you created, whatever you're doing, is within the framework of law. And most important is another aspect is this concept of child labor. Whenever you create and whenever you get it outsourced, whenever you get it done from somebody, one simple example is the crackers that we use. How ethical it is that most of it is being manufactured by child labor. You may not even know it. Likewise, when you have your design, your idea being prototyped and getting it manufactured, who is doing it, whether they are following the law, whether they are being ethical, whether they are being within the framework of law, all these needs to be checked. The bottom line is, yes, design, you're doing a good job, you're innovating, making it good for the society, for the people. Very important that you remain ethical so that your concept of helping the society and your moral values go in tandem. But more important is ensure that it is within the framework of law. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Praneshwaran. This is really, it was a very grounded uh, elaboration of our opportunities and limitations as designers. And what is it that we really need to look after when we design? And there is the entity called law, which we do need to take into account. And how closely is it actually aligned with ethics, and how are ethics aligned with law in any case? I will come back to you, and I'm sure that a lot of the audience is probably wondering how difficult or how easy is the process of registering a design, trademark, filing a patent, and so on in India today. While you said that earlier it was not required to sort of uh, well, go legal with your own design, because we were always designing in this geography, we were always designing for the greater good. And so it's understood that there's no need to file patents, and there's no need to register a trademark, and so on. And why did this happen actually? And where did it actually become important? And whom did it protect? Did it protect the government? Did it protect designers, engineers, or did it protect the users? We will come back to you during the panel discussion. Please stay with us. I hope this is not intruding your engagement today. And thank you again. Moving on now to the youngest in our today's celebration, Miss Dhriti Lakaraju, who is our student in the 4th year, the final year. So in a year's time, Dhriti, you are out there as a designer, and we can only hope that we have sort of facilitated enough of knowledge, skills, and understanding of what design is, and whom can you design for tomorrow. And how do you now see, as a student of the final year of the design school that's fairly progressive, how do you see your future, and how do you see the intersection of ethics, ecology, people, planet, profit? Where do you see yourself in this? Over to you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, let me reintroduce myself. Hi, I'm Dhatila Karaju. I'm a final year student from product design. And yeah, learning about ethics and getting ethical is, as a newcomer to design, it is very intimidating and overwhelming when you hear big words such as empathy, integrity, and humility. But then when we took time to pause and reflect, that's when we understood what it truly meant. So I'm gonna quickly share my screen and we get started. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, beautiful. So, empathy, ethics, and ecology. Empathy to us is all about understanding people and how it impacts and how all of it connects. Ecology is planet and how, especially in the present times where it's very important to be mindful. And how does ethics bind both of this? So, yeah, let's get started. So, before getting into it, today I'll be talking about a group project that we worked upon during our lighting semester. And that's when we were trying to learn different materials, different definitions about what lighting is. And then came in a very important question, which says, what happens when ethics becomes a part of like how we learn design, right? So this brings me to a place in the border of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu called Hills. And we went there as a group to this foundation called A-Tree, where they introduced us to this new material called lantana. Now, a little bit about lantana. Lantana is an invasive grass species, and the area of Hills is surrounded with jungles and dense forests and trees all over. So when this plant was there, it was taking over all the other prosperous ones and destroying the crop and giving the people a really hard time. So then we asked them, okay, so you understood there's an invasive grass species. What did you do about it? And they told us that we took this plant. We understood that it is invasive, but it was also strong. It is mendable, and we can make something out of it. And that truly changed our outlook towards it. So they took something that is poisonous and turned it into purpose. So even though we were literally dealing with the lanterna, but we were actually exposed to the magic that the people in landscape created for us. And once we got the brief, like any other design student, we were rushed into ideating. We had a couple of different ideas. We wanted to make everything and anything that we had our mind to. But when we were introduced to Lantana, we had to stop. We had to pause. We had to unlearn to not dominate this material with our process, but to actually observe and listen to what it is telling us. So yeah, once we had our ideas in place, we really wanted to rush because that's when we knew that we had something new, which did not exist yesterday, but we have something new and amazing today. And we couldn't wait. We just had to rush and make things happen. But while we got into it, we understood that there are different processes to it, say where you start with skinning the lanterna out, and then if it needed particular bending, you need to mend it in a certain way and wait for it, and you need to hold it in place with nails. So this is a very time taking process, and that's when we understood that rather than doing things fast, it is way important than doing it right and doing with intention and not aiming towards perfection. And there we had our beautiful lamps in our hand. And this is when we realized that taking a time to pause, reflect, and truly understand what the material says helped us define lantana in different design terms. As you can see in these pictures over there, one has a very oval shape, one's very pointy and dense, and one is in a beautiful hourglass shape. So we understood that the more we interacted with the material, we let it speak, and through that came our ideas, and that defined our process and the struggles and experiments that came along. And this wholesomely helped us learn better. So yeah, once we finished our trip, we were back to college, and we had the privilege and the liberty to exhibit these lamps in our college exhibition. And we were very proud of showcasing these because during the process, it was all about struggles and, oh my God, why is this not happening yet? But once we finished, we understood the importance of patience and understood that why we need to stick with the process and really be mindful about the choices that we make rather than just say sticking to a template and going along with it. So yeah. And yeah, this project taught us a lot about how we can be present, how we can be mindful. And maybe ethics is not such a big, overwhelming word as it sounds, but it's in the small choices that we make with every step of our design process. So, yeah, if you ask me, can students practice like ethical design? Of course they can. We always have. We just needed the time to pause, reflect, and understand, and then learn more from it. So, yeah, thank you, everybody, and let's get ethical.
This was really wonderful. And well, if you haven't put it into your slides, but I'm particularly proud that these projects could see the light of day even at Bangalore Design Week,
Right.
and that the broader audience also had the opportunity to see the outcome of that project. All right, I'm going to hand it over here now to Pratik, Professor Pratik Bandari, who's heading product design at CMRU School of Design, who will now lead the panel discussion. Over to you, Pratik.
Hello, thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers for making this session very insightful. I hope all the students who have joined here and the people from outside CMR also have gained a lot of insights. To start with, I understand many of you have given the time from your office hours. So quickly, a few questions. Second. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Nikhil, are you there? Hello, Nikhil. Diti, is Nikhil around?
Hi, so no, he had to leave because he had a meeting.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll move on to the Deepti. Um, like you had mentioned about the you spoke about the culture, the cultural aspect, and the uh, design. So, uh, primarily to start with, what are the ethical lines a designer should avoid crossing in branding or the visual narratives?
Yeah, so we had a discussion about this, so I'm happy to share that with you here. So I think like ethics is a blurry line when you're looking at marketing, right? Because you do want to get into making them influence behavior through marketing and through brand communication because you want them to buy a product or be your brand evangelist. But how much can you say? Because there's also fear mongering angle as well, right? So you say, okay, like, but then you also have options like the sale ending in 2 minutes. It does not actually not in 2 minutes. Thing is, but you then make a purchase because you feel okay, I will never tap in this page again. So in many times when even this there was a huge scam with to Amazon Prime. They couldn't find the unsubscribe button for a long time because it was kind of kept in the third level of the message communication. So even if like 1% of the Amazon Prime subscribers would have uh, given because of lack of time or because they didn't know, it will just go for one more month of subscription, one more year subscription, right? So to be ethical in design as a copywriter designer is to tell how far you're willing to go in terms of, and then are you okay with it? Because you should not feel scammed at the end of the day. When you're buying there's something I want to highlight in Japan, the packaging uh, for any product should have the exact size of the cookie of the or whatever what's what the contents of the box, right? So you don't have an unrealistic image of okay, it's going to be bigger, more juicier. One more thing which was discussed was you go and buy this KFC and burgers and all. The picture is like is making you feel like you have to buy tractor because it's quite big. But what you receive when you order the exact same thing online or when you go to the store is like very direct experience of what you imagine. So these things are what you're talking about ethical. How can be ethical in design? Yeah, over to you, Pratik.
Thank you, Deepti. We also have Mr. Vasan Joshua here. So, sir, if you also, yeah, we can, yeah.
I
So, hi. So, on the similar lines, since you, both of you, Deepti and Vasan sir as well, both of you are running agencies. Now, since you're talking about all the ideologies and philosophies, have you ever had to say no to a project because it didn't align with your ethical values? Right? Because it's a balance between both.
my name is Vasan Joshua. Thank you for the opportunity to have a discussion. I think great chat. Past 1 hour, I've been listening to everyone. Like you know, like Diti said, how much we can and how much we can't, right? Is always a question when it comes to ethics, right? So what Diti is talking about is called priming. So we're basically pushing the audience a certain amount of information for them to make a positive change or a negative change, right? It happens at a very, very animalistic, subliminal level. So we take in information and react to it. Like she spoke about Fair and Lovely, right? It talks about changing the skin color, right? So that's a project that I've said no, in my earlier days when I was working with advertising. Like if you look at, even like Rin as a soap, right? It sells success. If you wear a white shirt, you're successful. So these are priming, methodologies that brands use to create a positive change for themselves, right? Positive, like for instance, money. It makes, it makes money sense. Uh, and there are multiple projects, that we've come across, or we use it at a daily pace, like an atta pack, which will say it's got multigrain atta, but there'll only be 2% of multigrain in that atta itself. So using, taste cues and using exaggerated imagery to sell more, to create an urgency. There are multiple brands which are being built, and getting built as well. As a designer, I think how much we can push, and because we have the responsibility to, hold back, or like, fine tune that information, right? And it also depends on how much the client, who's using this information, is ethical, right? And most of the times the client is so unethical that the designers feel that, okay, either you don't work with them, or they find a way to get that information out. So as a community, I think we should hold, ourselves responsible for, how much of manipulation, or is it in a good way, bad way. I think for me, ethics is a blur, right? Because I've spent almost more than a decade and a half in advertising, doing brands, building brands. I think half the work that I've done for the past 16, 17 years is all lives, and and at today's day and age, we use that techniques, for people to come and buy products, right? And we use perception mapping to manipulate, and then so it's a game of how much we can and how much we can't. And it is, I think it is in every designer's responsibility to do very little of it, because the law cannot do anything about it. They can do nothing about it, right? And I can find ways around the law to break it, and I've done it for the past 20 years. And you create an IP, then I know how to get a way around with it. And anything for that matter, like creating a brand name, right? Like a classic example I'll give you: the Indian government doesn't allow you to register common names. uh, Game, play, they don't allow you to register it. So a simple way we found, we said, why don't we register? We wanted to call the brand A Game, A and Game, but we registered it as AGAME without a space, Agame. And in design, we manipulated the A to look separate. So this is working around the system, breaking the law, but bending the law to be a part of the system and get it registered. So as a designer, I know how to bend the law, how to work around it. So how much ethics come into play depends on the self. And I think it's the responsibility of a designer to kind of be like, okay, this is a yardstick that I need to use and push myself. It's a conversation, inward rather than conversation outward, is what I would say. And there are a lot of things at play. Money is at play. Your reputation is there. There are a lot of things that come into play. But yeah, I have said no to few clients, but I have also said yes to a few clients, because the money that was in front of me was a lot. I think now I would have said no to a few of the clients that I've worked with, and build far responsible brands right now. But 10 years back, no, I don't think so. I did everything possible, and I was young and I was in a very powerful position at different agencies, so I did whatever it took. Yeah.
Thank you for being so candid and open about it. I mean, it is the reality of building a design career, right? So, but there is always that moment of, as you rightly say, this side or that side, and we're continuously between the two. Even within the frameworks of law, as you rightly say, I mean, there's sometimes there are loopholes which seem to be more reasonable for us to sort of find and get into. I'm now very tempted to call in Dr. Praneshwaran to answer you on this, if he's still here. I don't know if he's still here. Maybe not. I don't know. Dr.
Was that for me?
Praneshwaran?
Was that for me? I didn't get you.
Yes. I'm sure you were listening to our dear friend Joshua Vasant. He's been running a very successful design agency in Mumbai, and here we have a very specific confession, if you will, where he has said, yes, I've sort of found loopholes and I didn't make it work. And there were times which I've said no to clients because it was unethical. So designers basically do meander between yeses and nos. And so we would like to hear from you and perhaps give a small comment on this. Because this is the truth of a designer building a career. You work with a very large agency, or you start out on your own, and there are certain decisions to be made, and sometimes they may not be ethical, and sometimes they may be outside the law. And so how do you deal with this? We would love your commentary on this.
Yeah, to begin with, I wouldn't want to use the word loophole because it sounds a little negative, and generally everybody uses this word telling that the law has loopholes. Law doesn't have loophole. Law permits you, law doesn't permit you. That's all. If you are able to, or if you know how to, again, work it around within the framework of law, that is what is meant by loophole. It is not actually a loophole, because loophole means something, an inherent flaw in the law. Law doesn't have flaws. Okay. What probably he means is, yes, sometimes you will have to kind of get it worked around and get it done. Now, if it is law, and even if your client is, yes, you might be lawful and ethical, but then when your client is not, and you know it, law sometimes also holds you accountable because there is something called due diligence. Knowing very well, you cannot turn a blind eye and get into it. Good, you are kind of evaluating and sifting these things, that whether the client is unethical and unlawful. Say, for example, you created a design and you give it to your client, and he is getting it done, getting it into production, and you know that he is using child labor. So this is where your dilemma comes. For you, there the dilemma is one, about 80% of ethics, because where is your ethics then in terms of not allowing that to happen because it is unethical? 20% of law. Why 20% of law? Is because you're not directly involved. You are not, again, it depends on the agreement that you both have. Are you only as a kind of an outsourced giving them the design, and there your matter ends? Then yes, like you said, you can turn a blind eye. But then again, a question arises about your ethics, and tomorrow somebody else, some other client would want to come to you, then he gets to know that, and he gets to know that you were quite knowing that it is unethical, then he may not approach you. See, that is why ethics and law we are separating. When you don't follow ethics, there is directly no consequence from law or any sanctions per se. But when you go outside the purview of law, when you flout a law, you are held by the long arm of the law. Now, today you might escape. At one point of time, you will somewhere, something will get, either in terms of tax, in terms of compliances, in terms of licenses. Somewhere you will. It's not that. See, people think that they can get away from law. They can't. Somewhere. So yes, I really appreciate Mr. Vasant Joshua's idea of when my client is unethical, I wouldn't want to get into it. That's the right thing. Yes, you may lose out on a client. You may be looking like somebody who is foolish that not to giving up a clientele. But then in the long run, it matters. When your own brand is being built, as a Vasant, as a designer, your brand is being built, uh, it does matter. Legally, yes, it is always better to know your clientele and what activities and how legally compliant they are. It sometimes it may through them come to you also. So it's always better to be wary and better safe than sorry.
Vasant, any commentary on this?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, see, as designers, as creators, we really have to look at the career as a long-term journey. Like you need to build on. I stand corrected to use the word loopholes, but I do think law is rigid. Like law has a set of rules, and it has a book where everything can be referred to, right? So if you learn it, if you understand it, how much you can navigate through the law and what is the right way to use the law. We have lawyers for it, right? I'm saying they've understood the law in and out to argue in court. And if it was such a rigid structure, and there won't be any conversation in the court, there won't be any arguments in the court, and there won't be any judge, right? So he is using his ethical sense to see if the law and ethics come together, right? And saying, yes, this is the right way, and they have done a few things. I think he constantly refers to a book, but there is a certain amount of conscience, right? For a judge to say, oh, this is an ethical and a right judgment. And I think law and ethics, even though they are two separate, they go hand in hand. Like it's like heart and brain, right? Heart is the ethics, brain is the law. I'm saying you cannot live without each other. I think that's where I totally stand. And I do understand doing due diligence with the client. But unfortunately, if you start as freelancers, as designers, and if you work in a big organization, like let's say I'll even like say names, like let's say big organization as Lintas, McCann, Leo Burnett, or Bilbees of the world, and they already have a client like Fair and Lovely, which is by Hindustan Unilever, right? I'm able to take names today because I run an independent design house and I don't care about them. And I've done enough work with them to know, and I know their clients. I know all the clients by names. So is Fair and Lovely an ethical product? Is it telling truth? Is it a product by law? So everything is under question, right? It is a product. They're selling fairness, and it depends on how much it works on a particular skin. And there are a lot of arguable conversations that you can have around the product when it comes to law. But there are a lot of conversations that you can have with the product or about the product when it comes to ethics, right? Of course, they changed the name to Glow and Lovely, right? And they think, okay, they can get away with it, and and they have gotten away with it. They are in the market. People are constantly buying them, right? So that's why I said priming is a process of using a consumer's behavior or an understanding and directly talking to them at a level that he gets influenced. Like for me, like being a South Indian, like I worked everywhere in different cities. I've worked in Chennai, I've worked in Bangalore, I've worked in Calcutta, I've worked in Delhi, I've worked in Kochi. Now I'm in Bombay. The way people see you, the way people talk to you, is vastly different because the way you look, right? You look dark. You're 5'9". There is a certain amount of perception already built when you're walking into the room, right? Can you question that? You cannot. There are certain assumptions made when you look a certain way. So I think it is inherent that we cannot question these things, but how can we use that information, build around it? Is what I would, highly recommend. Yes, like rightly how Sir said, right? If your client is somebody who's doing, or somebody who has child labor in their factories, yes, you definitely should not even step anywhere close to them, and in fact inform the cops about them, taking action, right? Ethics is also about taking action. Just inform, those things. But I'm also talking about the softer things, like, which you don't seem to harm anyone at a long run, like taking an image for a presentation and using it and not crediting somebody. So I love the fact that he started his conversation with that. Like, we without noticing, we do a lot of unethical things in our design process. We look at Pinterest, we take all the images and we create a mood board, right? I'm saying, before Pinterest, how did we do it? Right? Did we do it by looking at people, observing things? How did we do the mood boarding? So everything gets questioned, and how much is correct, how much is wrong, also kind of shifts based on, I think, the social construct, or the cultural construct. So that's why I said ethics is a very, very blurry subject. Law I can live with, but ethics, I don't know. Ethics is something which is to its own, I feel.
I would like to circle back around to the Deepti's point of view, and tightly closing that loop between empathy and ethics. I think this is a good moment to do this. And so how do we really test for empathy, and therefore how do we test for ethics? Deepti, coming back to you.
Yeah, so in advertising, it's very common to use exaggeration, right? There's a very nice ad of like how you mentioned Rin also, that you put your clothes in this. It's not actually that easy, and Maggie is not really 2 minutes. It takes much more than that. And then there's an ad of Happy Dent, that it gives you that a white shine that you can replace a street light. That was the ad. It was very popular ad, right? And then I remember at one point in my childhood, I was actually seeing an ad called, I think it's Colgate or Oral B, I'm not sure. They introduced new two-tone toothpaste, right? So it was red and white, and in the ad they showed, okay, when you after toothpaste, you get all these glowing circles around you when you go the next day to after you do this. That's how, as a child, the next day I was very excited to get this toothpaste. The next time in the supermarket, and then I brushed and nothing magical happened. So I felt very, very let down as a kid. And then I understood, okay, there's also going to be deception in marketing, right? So I think when you talk about ethics, you also talk about deception. Like, how much are you going to push ethics that you're going to deceive people to talk about, product and market a product? So I think most designers, when I was working with clients in college, we don't talk about law and law governing design. It's only much later we come to talk about it. I had a client who asked me to copy the exact mood board and the exact visual impact of a very popular Rameshwaram cafe. It's a restaurant QSR here. So I was like, we can do something similar but not the same. But they said it's very similar. So we have to convince a client to tell them why you cannot stand out from the crowd if you do something else. So with some clients, you can shift their mindset, but I think in the whole client onboarding process, if there's a red flag, it's going to stay in the rest of the conversation. They're going to ask you to push and say, I want something similar. So I think the client, like what you talk about, the due diligence is really important, because then you know whether you're going to work with a client and you can sleep at night peacefully. Because at the end of the day, only thing, like how you value the work against ethics and empathy is to understand if that propaganda marketing material comes to you, like, will you feel deceived after you have gone and seen the plot, or after have you gone and experienced the brand? That's a yardstick to measure for a designer. Like, how far will you go to make it look that flawless and that beautiful, knowing that this is how it is going to look after you be a part of the brand. Yeah,
Correct. Dr. Praneshwar, I think the consumer courts and ethics have sort of been a more prominent part of our lives and part of the market, and something that we all need to look at here in India. In the past couple of years, that has kind of become much stronger than earlier, right? So again, this intersection of ethics and empathy and how do consumers feel after a purchase, and if they're not happy, what is it that they can do, and so on, and how far do designers need to take this into account when they're creating something new. Your comment on this?
Yes, courts in India are taking these things seriously of late, especially the consumer courts. When you deceive, like I would agree with Deepthi that I would go a step forward that most of the advertisements, about 90% of the advertisements are unethical and deceptive.
They always have been. I mean, it's a question of being a great artist and to be able to lie very well. I mean, so this is something that students are taught. That you have to be convincing. So because you're building a new reality, you're building a new reality of what you're trying to offer out there in the market. So, but where does that line? Where does that line?
I vaguely remember even Fair and Lovely was taken to court that somebody used it and said I didn't become fair. I think it was a guy who used it and said I didn't become fair, and he was taken to the court. See, yes, as designers, yes, you should take a call on how much. Like Josh Vasant said, a little bit okay. Small things is fine. See, that's why I said ethics is what you are willing to let go or how much you are willing to let go. Law, it's not how much or whether you like it. Whether you like it or not, if law doesn't let go, it will not let go. It will hold you by the collar. Okay, that's very clear. Ethics, on the other hand, is okay. You would want, like Deepthi said, the example that she gave. You would do something very similar to that example, pass it off and through the law. But coming back that night, will you be able to sleep? That's ethics. How much of your ethics allows it? When this, especially in advertisements, especially when consumers are fooled, taken for a ride through these advertisements, everything, law does take a serious view of it, and these unethical practices are held to be against consumer interests, and there have been instances where consumers have received compensation, received or replacement of the products or whatever has happened. So that part is there. But when we relate this to design, somewhere if the company or was okay with this and they insisted that you do it in spite of knowing that it is unethical, that is one aspect. When the company doesn't know that, and you also either intentionally or unintentionally pass it off, the company might come back to you telling that you gave us this design, or you gave us this which is not passing through the test of law or passing through the test of ethics, and in turn indirectly through law. So you may also be held liable for it. So it is always better to check. See, being unethical or using these things may give you a temporary benefit, but in the long run, no.
Thank you. I'm gonna take this now in a slightly different direction. Sorry, Pratik, I'm stealing here the moment because it's a great opportunity for us all to sort of comment on this. I think it's very easy for all of us to sort of talk about what's ethical and what's not ethical when we have tangible, visible moments of what we are observing, right? Like if in the circumstances that we're trying to observe and trying to sort of make a judgment, if you will, if it's necessary, right? I think it's easier for us as human beings and also as designers to do this when we are dealing with visible and tangible. Now, when it comes to data, and when it comes to designing digital experiences, and when it comes to data harvesting, how do we as designers, and I'm bringing this up because the digital experiences in India are it. I mean, every second designer is looking at getting into the digital space, meaning designing digital experiences. I'm talking about UI, UX, right? It's very highly paid. It's very sought after. We are in the capital of India, which thrives on it, and a lot of our future designers are still looking at getting into this space, right? In spite of the fact that it's really huge and it's kind of saturated, but and we've designed an app and we've designed an interface and we've designed a digital experience for so many things, right? I don't know what's left, but perhaps only some uh, very unregularized, very untapped, domains of our life or market are left. But I think we've designed an app for everything, right? Now, where do we? So when there is such a situation that we have saturation, right, and we are looking for the next big thing and for the new thing, where do we draw a line? Where do we draw a line? Because even with banking, like banking has become so easy, and there's still space of sort of regularizing the interface and bringing in certain standards, right? When we are using apps, that there should be familiarity and in terms of functionality. And these are ethical things to consider, right? Because it's not easy for everybody to look at, let's say, one bank's interface versus the other banks, and we all have bank accounts at different banks, right? And we need to get used to these interfaces because it's a different bank. So going in the direction of regularizing certain interfaces in the fintech is a good thing, right? But then on the other hand, there is also that moment of data harvesting, right? And we're very, very worried about what's it being used for. And I think we have all kind of made peace with the fact that our data is there so others can sell to us, right? That data will be used in the form of algorithms to sell us products online because ads will be pushed at us, right? And that too very individually. I mean, we live in a world which is highly customized and highly individualized already. So in the light of all of that, designers and communication and where do we draw a line? Where should the future generations draw a line? Like what should be that moment, especially in the digital space?
It's for me.
I'm asking both of you. Yeah, I'm asking all three of you, and I'm asking the students.
Very
I'm asking
difficult in the
everybody.
digital space. Drawing a line in the digital space is very difficult.
Mm.
See, had it been in the physical space, it would have been known. It is easier to detect. It is easier to know. In digital space, it's very difficult for a simple reason that, see, copying is very easy. If you had to copy a physical thing and you have to draw something, but you just have to 2 clicks and it gets copied. Very difficult. See, that this digital space is where the challenges are more. And somebody's asked a question on AI also, very close to what you're talking about.
Yes, I
Now,
think
I
it
would
is.
say that generative AI and ethical use are oxymorons. They can't go together. You can't use AI and be ethical. And in law, there is a concept called equity, that to be correct, to be right, to be reasonable, to be fair, to be just. But when you are expecting that from others, you should be fair first. That's what law says. You have to approach the court with clean hands. You use AI and you expect people to be ethical. How? It doesn't match. See, I have problems with my students today. They don't want to read textbooks. The moment whatever we are teaching, they put those keywords into this one, and whatever ChatGPT is preparing, they want to reproduce that and get away with it. Yes, temporarily, like I said, temporarily you may get away with it. You may pass an exam, but tomorrow in the market, when a client comes to you, will you be able to advise your client? You can't ask everything to AI. That's where, especially in law, similarly in designs also. I think that if you're going to be unethical about it, somewhere it will be noticed. So you can't get away with it. It's only a matter of time. See, again, digital space is very difficult to find these things out because of the nature of the digital space with regard to jurisdiction, who is using it, from where it is used, who put it. See, when I put a photograph and the moment it is copied 4 times, each appears as good as the original. But then there is a way of finding it also. Ultimately, it would be found out. Coming back to using a, see, it all boils down to the commercial aspect and how much a person is okay with somebody else using his ideas. That way, we keep quiet. We don't take coercive action because it doesn't affect us commercially. But once it does, or once it does starts affecting you, people will start taking action against you. Say you've used a design and maybe a little unethical about it, and you pass it off, and you've been in the market for about, say, 4 or 5 years, and thereafter somebody over has the ownership over it, realizes that it is pinching them, and brings out an action against you. Your 5 years of work will be gone. Everything will be taken off, everything, and you may not even be able to start from zero. You'll have to start from -5. So just because you're getting away with it, that doesn't mean you're right. Just because you're getting away, even from the law also, somewhere it will pinch you, it'll affect you. So it's not wise. So even if it is digital content, digital world, it's always better to be original.
And how do we become original? By becoming closer to whom we are designing for. It's that simple. All right. Josh, any last comments on this? I mean, from the moment you've joined us, I know today you've been wanting to sort of participate in this discussion rather than talking about specific cases. Any last comments on today's topic?
Like Sir said, right? Artificial intelligence, I think we're calling it artificial intelligence, but the truth is it's collective intelligence. So there are a bunch of things, we understand that, and then we create a new output based on the collective information which is there. Like the classic example is the Studio Ghibli portraits that everybody did, right? Studio Ghibli, is a studio from Japan. So Miyazaki had done a lot of illustrations, and everybody took that illustration and created their own, avatars on internet, right? So as long as the collective intelligence / AI is there, I think plagiarism will be there, right? Because you're taking things and then you're doing a permutation combination of that, and then you're putting out a new version of it. That's not going to stop, and it's going to accelerate. It's going to become harder and very difficult for the law and anybody else to understand where this all started. Or probably it will take some time for the for a structure like law to come into play. What we can do as designers is be ethical about it, right? Have some conscience and respect what the creator has done, in how we can borrow from there. There's a very nice book by Austin Kleon. It says steal like an artist. He talks about how you should steal like an artist and not do plagiarism. Learn the craft, understand how they've done it, and why don't you follow the same process? He's not saying replicate that. He's saying understand how he got to that piece, like in terms of creation. Why don't you follow your own process, or learn from that process and build your own methodologies, and the result might look completely different. So I would completely urge everybody to read that book, Steal Like an Artist, from Austin Kleon. And another book I really recommend is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He is a Nobel Prize winner in terms of psychology, and how people kind of buy, how people behave. It's a very interesting book, for everybody to study. So it will give you in-depth understanding of how people function as like we are social animals, right? We all move in groups, we all create patterns. So I think that's why the digital world is also in play. Like Aditi was talking about, like the subscription button hidden at a tertiary level where you cannot find, to unsubscribe, right? So all these things come into play. As UX designers and UI designers, we need to keep that in mind. How do we make it? How do we make the experience journey smooth for somebody to check into the brand and check out of the brand? So even at a digital level, it is inward, and you have to have ethics in terms of building anything for any client or for yourself. So that's where I would leave it. Like law, he said, there is a structure, there is a right and a wrong. Ethics doesn't have that. Ethics is dictated by your inner conscience. So I think that you need to develop. I think the place to develop there is to like talk to your mentors. See how they've built it, and how it's benefited them and how they've progressed in their career. See, most of the times, like there is a saying that, can you sleep peacefully at night? I was sleeping peacefully at night for 20 years while making all those mistakes because I didn't know it was a mistake until it kind of happened to me and somebody sat me down and said, Josh, when you're building your own company, why don't you follow these practices? So we're very, very, very strict about how we run our business when it in the last 8 years. We don't touch anything murky at all. We tell the clients to their face. Maybe it might be losing money right now, but we are intact in terms of how we want to be perceived as a design house, as an agency, as a whole. So I think we have to inculcate that habit in our students in terms of what is the right practice and how much we can push, how much we cannot push. I think it should come. It inherently happens at a college level, at a mentorship level, at your bosses. I think that's where you can really teach ethics. It's something that you see and learn. You watch your seniors, you watch your bosses, you watch your professors do it, and it just comes to you. It's not something you can read on a book. It's that's what I believe in. And I think as people in the industry, as people who have done things slightly before our juniors, I think we should follow it ourselves, and automatically the younger generation will start following it, is what I believe in. Yeah, these are my last points.
Let's hope that we are. It's wonderful how things sort of come full circle, right? So, I hope we are setting the right kind of an example. I mean, for the future generations. Dipti, there is that fine moment. I'm still going to push for empathy, and how do we ensure as designers that we are on the right track? I would like to ask that, in your experience, what is the most effective method of research to actually gain insight into our target audience's mind, circumstances, ambitions, and so on? What do you feel is the most effective method to actually gain that insight in order to step into their shoes and actually have that level of empathy required in good, effective design?
Can you hear me now? I'm on the phone. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, like I said, we spend a lot of time with the founders because I think ethics is also related to principles, right? So our principle among the other client principles. So only then we can design an empathetic and ethical product together. So great. I'm very grateful that all the clients we work with so far, we believe that they're doing good work and we're happy to be part of the brand journey. So I think the most important thing is that when you are doing things, working, we see the clients as collaborators, equal part in design, decision making, and going forward. So we don't work with clients who say, okay, here's the money and do this thing. We want them to be part of, okay, like, no, this is how we want to do, and they have to spend time with us. In that time, we become very close. And there are clients where I've hung out with them, I've gone for trips with them and treks with them, right? So when you do something like this, you really have to, I tell my team, first you have to fall in love with the client. Only then can you write from their shoes. Only then can you write about their product, because ultimately it's not a client. We measure a success by understanding how much the client has grown. Because I keep telling, like, you have to think of the client's brand as our own brand. Only then will we be able to deeply understand, okay, what are the pain, what are the challenges they are facing, and then write content, evocative content, and content with that. Because if they are doing a sale, the sale does not work well, are you doing it? Understand why the sale did not work and finding a reason. So you have to be all these things to make sure you're partner to a client. We see a client as a partners to the brand journey. So coming back to your question about how do I, like, encounter the habit of being empathetic for the client, I get into their shoes by understanding the client a little more detail outside their work, like as a family. And why? Because I had a client who would say, I do not want to give a podcast or be part of videos. But then in 5 years, she did it, right? So we understand, okay, why the client is saying no, why the client is saying yes, why the client is saying no to this. And then understand, okay, kind of fine tuning the other things around it to make sure they're comfortable. Second thing is, with most of the clients, I also know their core team very well. I know their sales team very well to understand what is their feedback, maybe which doesn't get conveyed to the founder. So when they are having like a monthly call, I'm on that call with the client and their team to understand, okay, how the monthly sales go this time, and then how does my strategy for the next communication can affect that. So I have even gone to the extent of taking a client customer call to pacify the client, because that's the extent we want to support the client, and they felt comfortable enough to ask us to go ahead and do it. So this is the extent of what we can do. I think as an agency, one thing I have heard from a lot of clients is, you understand us better than our own team sometimes, right? Because they're comfortable, because that's the kind of study we do with them. And three things, like I said, was one is the founder, second thing is the other core team of the brand, third thing is you kind of observe how people are interacting with the brand. So if it's a digital experience, I ask for the heat maps, I ask the sales figures, I ask which product is selling out fast. If it's an online store, we go to the store, observe how is the weekend, how's the weekday, Slack communication. So we do all these things to understand which product is selling more. Only then you get a realistic map of, okay, what's happening with the brand. Yeah, Alexandra, I think I answered the question. Anything more I can elaborate?
Thank you so very much. I'm playing a devil's advocate here. It's really for our students, because again what we are all noticing is that the future designers are turning more and more to technology to do their research and to get an insight into clients and users. This just, I'm playing a devil's advocate on behalf of all designers that practice design the way it should be practiced, with empathy, with empathy that is really grounded in reality. And reality can only be gained if you put your shoes into it, right? If you really reach out to those that you're designing for. All right, thank you, Dikti, so very much. There are a few comments here. Thank you. It was nice to have quick learning on design, empathy, ethics, and law. Good one. Okay, thank you so much, Startup Works. And Vasan, thank you guys. Fantastic chat. Thank you for joining us again. I mean, this was really great. Are there any other comments or questions that anybody from the audience would like to share? Pratik, did we cover everything? I think we've gone into all kinds of different directions.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd like to answer that question. That part of that question is unanswered, where somebody is asked, where do we stand on drafting regulations and policies to manage ethical use of generative AI? We have a long way to go. We will not see, law doesn't foresee everything. Is very difficult. Unless something happens, then there is a need to kind of regulate them. Unless so, we still a long way to go in drafting regulations and policies. Of course, as of now, not that nothing is there. They will definitely come under the purview of IPR, copyright, everything. Maybe going forward, a special law may be required, keeping in mind the nuances of the digital world down the line and down the pipeline.
So we have a long way to go to define this very clearly, because IPR does exist, right? And to an extent, it does protect the data and especially personal data. So, but I think everybody feels that there is quite a lot to be done. Thank you for coming back to that question. I think it's important that we cover everything. All right. Do we have anything else to share today? I think typically the conversations about ethics and sustainability and empathy and so on, they always move in the direction of where do we source materials, and is it ethical to use plastic? And if you look at what has been happening around the world in this celebration of World Industrial Design Day, I think there has been a lot of talk on the physical realm of designing. I'm so glad that we have gone a little more abstract, and we have really connected the law here, and we've connected empathy, and we have connected practice, true practice, and we were able to sort of have an interesting conversation here. I think whoever sees this further on our YouTube channel and on World Design's organization's channel, I think they're going to have an interesting time watching this. Thank you all very much, and I hope we can do something interesting during this year, which follows through with this topic. I think we have a whole lot of events coming up, and I think it would be interesting to see this develop further, because this is something that marks not only this day but also the entire year. And just like last year, we were getting emotional and we were tying in sports because Olympics were happening, and we were tying in design with these two domains. I think we have quite a lot of different directions to look at when it comes to ethics and empathy and integrity, sustainability. All of these are closely tied in together. And I think it'll be great to build this topic further into all of our into our functioning, and especially the events that are coming up. We have, okay, Yunus. All right, Pratik, would you like to read out the question, and then maybe whoever would like to answer this?
Yeah. So Eunice is asking, I think this is for the Dr. Praneshwaran. How do we protect our IP where we have per country patents in a very globalized world? Then there was an instance where competitors from other countries had reproduced a product and it was beyond jurisdiction of that IP.
Yes,
Yeah,
see,
interesting.
IP patents are per country agreed, and there are global patents also. In fact, having a patent in a particular country also helps you in proving it in another jurisdiction that you already have one. So it does help, not that it doesn't. Having a there is something called TRIPS, trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. It's a convention. It is there. Things are happening where they have given a model patent law, which is supposed to be more or less common across jurisdictions. There is a lot of work going on there. Not that nothing is being done, but then if you are looking for a kind of a solution with just a wipe of your wand, it's a little difficult because it also opens up who manages that. If you have a globalized patent organization, who manages that? Whose interests will be uh, protected? Not that nothing is there. As of now, there are a lot of things, and especially when other countries, we have plenty of examples where we have patents and we have products which cannot be patented because it is in common use. People have got it patented in other jurisdictions. We have petitioned, we have objected, and successfully got those patents cancelled. There are mechanisms, there are institutions and systems in place for these things, not that they are not there. If you're expecting it to be convenient, no.
That's okay. A moment of silence here because what do we do about it? What do
No,
we do about it? What's the
what
solution?
I'm trying to say is there are processes. See, you want things to happen by themselves. You want things to happen easy. You want things to be convenient. Like say, if you should have one, like say sending a mail, you just put your product and you have your patent. No, it cannot happen like that. There are processes. There are procedures, whether you like it or not. That's how. And there are reasons for it. Not that they are not unmindful. Not that they don't. Because when most of us see things, we see it only from our perspective. We don't see it from a larger perspective. Law does not have that kind of privilege. It has, or it does see from every person's perspective. So are these procedures and processes put in place so that a wrong is not committed in trying to do a right. So your patents are protected across the globe. There are processes and procedures for it. And there are instances where people have misused or got things patented or stolen and got away with it. We have objected and we have successfully resisted it. There are procedures, law. Like I said, the long arm of the law will get to it, but then you have to have patience.
All right. I hope this was an extensive answer for Yunus. I'm gonna close this with a question to both Deepti as well as Joshua, if Joshua is still here, as practicing designers. Should design schools introduce law as a subject to its students?
I have an objection. Why not to me?
Sorry?
I have an objection. Why not this question to me?
Because they are practicing designers, and so we need to know whether
Let them answer. I will take it.
Okay, all right, and then we can come back to you as well. Deepti.
Yeah, I think. Hello. Yes, I think it will definitely help us because I find a lot of things which in college we were not taught. That gap is what I'm realizing when I'm practicing design and running a design as a business, right? So I think this is something which will definitely help us because I've got in touch with many people who do IP and advised my clients to protect our designs through them. But I think at least a course, like a highlight course to understand, okay, how do you, the question Eunice asked right now, because we are training our designers in design school to go and design, right? But if I'm going to do a Kickstarter, which is you can't do it, like I said, there are all loopholes. I had a client who was doing Kickstarter from India, registered in a German company. So how do you protect the IP working from India, but then they're designing for German audience and putting it out there? These kind of things, if it is taught, I think it's becomes much easier than finding it out after making multiple blunders, and then a lot of heartbreak as well. So I'll definitely vote for yes. Let's do a small crash course on design, on design and protecting a design through design laws, so you kind of know where is that line. Like I said, like how we said, there's only hard and fast rule. There's nothing like as a perception, and that once you're clear about it, you kind of know how to work within that boundary. That is my take on it.
Thank you so much. Is Joshua still with us? No, I think he left. All right. Okay, then Dr. Praneshwaran, yes.
Definitely yes. Not just design, anything. See, when you're creating a design, at least the basics of laws and the basics of IPR, if they know, you would be better equipped to deal with these situations. Probably you're having the seminar under this title because you don't have a law paper. If you've had, then your understanding would have been better. You don't require such. So, and in a little more serious note, because you will get a little bit in depth into learning the law. Most of the times we are caught unawares because we do not know the law. We think, like Joshua said, for 20 years he's been doing, and suddenly he realizes that it is because nobody told, especially law. So it is required so that you remain within the framework of law and you do the right things the right way. And it also helps you to be ethical. So yes,
Thank you so
in
much.
caps, bold, underline.
All right, and then let's hear from the audience. I would like all of you to vote on this, because we have here a mix. Should design students study law in design schools? Yes or no? Put it up in your chat, please. And you have 10 seconds. We will count till 10. So. All right. Okay, we've got a hard yes from quite a lot of people here. So I guess we will we will continue with this practice. And I'm in this slide. Yes, we do have Indian Constitution as a part of our learning here at the CMR School of Design. And I think we have actually the privilege compared to many other design schools who do not have any subjects that are connected with law. I think it's a great initiative that this is something that is being practiced here and is a part of our learning journey at CMRU School of Design. Pratik, I'm so sorry I've stolen your panel discussion. I know you have been preparing for it and you were supposed to moderate it. I just couldn't help myself here and it was just so much fun to interject. Is there anything else that you would like to ask or comment on before we close the session? I think it was a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, we can proceed further. So, yeah, I think in the coming days, maybe we can have like what was suggested here, the short course or something with the IP. In the classroom, the one of the very common discussion, right? I say I have designed it and somebody else has launched it. That's a very common phenomenon. It happened to me also during our, and now also we see it in the classroom. So let's see like how we can take this further to document the work so that legally document the work and see how we can put on the records. Maybe that will help our students as well.
Right. All right. Thank you all so very much for joining us. This has been more fun than I anticipated, and I think every year is just becoming more and more fun. Looking forward to having a nice ethical year ahead, and keep on practicing and keep on learning design through the eyes of integrity, sustainability, accessibility, justice, empathy. I think these are some of the values that we need to uphold as designers, and irrespective of what times we live in, I think these are universal values which we as human beings also need to sort of uphold. Thank you all very much once again. Thank you, our guests, and see you soon.